Frankie, American Thanksgiving just passed. And for the NHL, that's typically a really important date, is it not? I mean, for executives, for media alike, to kind of determine and gauge where a team is at that point. By that point, teams have usually played 20 games. That's a solid sample size. And Frankie, if I were to tell you before the season that after 24 games, the Leafs will have had to use Eric Shalgren for 9 of them because both of their starters would be out for significant amount of time for injuries, that they would be without Morgan Riley, TJ Brody, and Jake Muzzin for a number of games, and that Austin Matthews was not scoring like Austin Matthews. What would you say the Maple Leafs record would be at that point?
Not too good, man. Not too good.
You would think.
And I'm an optimist.
That's right. And yet, here we are. The Maple Leafs are 14-5-5. They're fourth overall in the entire league. They faced an enormous amount of adversity thus far in this season. Is it fair to say, now that we have a large enough sample, that Sheldon Keefe may be in the running and perhaps even, dare I say, in the lead for the Jack Adams Trophy for Coach of the Year in the early going of this season so far?
Is it fair to say? It's fair to suggest. Is he in the driver's seat? I don't think so. It's only, in my opinion, how they choose at least nominees. But I know for the winner of the Jack Adams, it's kind of like an unwritten rule. But it's they say the team that shows the most improvement from the year before kind of looks like the clubhouse leader for the Jack Adams, and look no further than Lindy Ruff, right? So
Dave Haxtell as well with the Kraken.
Dave Haxtell, yep. I think listen, Jim Montgomery in Boston deserves some
another great choice
credit there, even though he is a new coach, but like Boston hasn't missed a beat. And how many times have we come on here and say, well, this is the year that the Bruins probably fall off a bit, and sure enough, no. You look on the other side, you talk about Dave Haxtell, Bruce Cassidy in Vegas. So I think there's a lot of pretty good cases to make. But then you look at the other intangibles. You look at man games missed. Leafs are right up there in terms of players missing games. You look at the Leafs actually are tied right now, but if Connor Timmins gets into a game, they'll actually lead the NHL in the number of defensemen that a team has put in the lineup at 12. So they're 11 deep right now, which is pretty incredible if you really think about it. And I think it's more of a credit to the Kyle Dubas and finding some more fringe NHLers to fill in those spots. So you know what, Joe? I think long story short, I think it's fair to say. I think if they win the division, he'll be a nominee. But if the Devils stay where they are, you got to give it to Lindy Ruff.
I think you just made a great case for Keefe there because, they're 11 D-men deep, and yet they're one of the better defensive teams in the NHL by, the metrics of goals against and some of the advanced metrics as well. A coach deserves some responsibility for that, the structure and the system that he's put in place to allow them to still have success, even though they've endured so many injuries on the back end.
Yeah, and going back to my point about improvements, I think when a team improves so much year over year and you see such a big point differential, I think that's more about the general manager being nominated for GM of the year versus the coach, because it's the guys he brings in that shows those point totals, because it's a regular season award.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
So it's not like you win the cup and obviously, hey, coach of the year is the guy who wins the Stanley Cup. No, it's a regular season award. So points percentage does have a pretty big measuring stick to it. But I also say I look at teams 5-on-5 play, which is not the best right now, but also special teams, which the Leafs are obviously they're in the power play, getting better at penalty kill. They're not the threat they were last year, but doing okay there. So I look at different factors like that. That's why Keefe is not there yet.
What about the factor of Keefe has had to do it in the hottest media market in the NHL, where there's, I'm sure, way more pressure than some of these other markets like Seattle, where, let's face it, Dave Haxtell's playing with house money. It's their second year in the league. If it were not for Vegas making the final 5 years ago, what pressure would they really have to be that good? Lindy Ruff was facing some heat at the beginning of the year, that's for sure. The chants were to fire him, and then the fans apologized to him, which is very nice for Lindy. But it wasn't too long ago where there were media members in this town saying, well, if the Leafs lose one more, then Sheldon Keefe is on the hot seat. He might lose his job here. And it's completely flipped the other way. I thought that talk was ludicrous. There was no way that he was getting fired that early in the season.
It's funny. The whispers of Barry Trotz have kind of, vanished
Subsided.
away. Right?
Subsided, definitely, yes.
Definitely subsided. You know what, Joe? Nobody cries for Toronto. It's especially with all the media stuff. It's just, it comes with the territory. I don't think that ever gets any sympathy from anybody. And if you ever want to be a Leaf, be a coach, be a GM, be a player, you're into the fire. The microscope's always on you. But I will give the guy credit. I'm just looking quickly at his stat. Having a 678 coaching winning percentage is pretty damn good. And I think obviously there's no award for total record, but it's a shame where more and more coaches are not getting recognized for the work they do because there isn't that improvement. Like a guy like John Cooper. Okay, yeah, he's won cups. So I'm talking about from a coaching standpoint, being a coach of the year, you ever get that recognition for just being consistently good versus a point improvement, right? So I do give Keefe credit. He seems like to be a pretty good players coach. I haven't always agreed with the decisions he's made, but I think he's adapted more this year with separating his top two lines. And haven't we been saying it for the longest time that you do that and you give yourself dual threats on each line. So I give him at least some credit for that. So I may not mean much, but I think if he were to get fired, he'd find a job very quickly. Very quickly.
Well, Frankie, you're giving him some credit. I'm giving him a lot of credit. If the Jack Adams Award was given out right now, I'd have him as a finalist in the top 3. That's for sure. Probably wouldn't win it. You're right, but he'd be up there. So Sheldon's doing a great job. Yeah. One more thing.
I'll leave you with this.
Absolutely.
If we're having this same conversation come award season, remember this: show me a good goalie, and I'll show you a good coach. So if Matt Murray finds himself in possibly some award nominations at some point, there's a good chance you might find Keefe there as well.
That is a great point, Frankie. And that's why you're the coach. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening.